Welcome to another episode of the Bigger Than Food podcast. My name is Apollo Woods. I am the proprietor and host of this podcast. And here on the Bigger Than Food podcast, we talk to entrepreneurs, community leaders, and we work with them and helping them share their journey. Not just what they do, but who they are. What experiences in life that led them to do the impactful things they're doing in their industry and out in their community. Today, it's just me, and I wanted to share some things that have been on my heart over the last several weeks. And what sparked this is just the thought of more local businesses closing, particularly Black-owned businesses closing. The after effects of COVID are tough. But hopefully I'll be able to share some stories with you today from my personal experiences of what it means to have to think about closing your business. Some of you have a brick and mortar business and you own a restaurant, a food truck, maybe you're a mobile business, or you have a large organization. We've also heard some announcements of layoffs and reductions with some companies who were doing great things out in the community and had to face the tough decision of layoffs. Have you ever been in that position where you had to really consider, my decision is going to affect somebody individually and their family? It's tough to consider, but it's a decision that leaders have to make. I remember this was 2020, probably maybe a year and a half or so, about a year after I became a full-time entrepreneur. In the beginning stages of starting a business, it's a lot of work and it's tough. I was in an interview with the Main Street Alliance, and the executive director at the time asked me this very tough question. He said, what would happen if you stopped advocating and promoting for Black-owned restaurants in Oklahoma City? I didn't know he was going to ask me that question, and I didn't know what to say at the time, because just the thought that I left corporate America to pursue this dream, something, honestly, I didn't want to do. I didn't know I was going to be doing this. It wasn't on my plan. And I took a moment. I was fighting back tears because I didn't want to feel like a failure. And I said, if I stop doing this for Black-owned restaurants and small businesses in Oklahoma City, I don't know who would pick it up. And I still feel that way. But that was the one of the hard realities when you're doing something that is to impact people, is having to come to the realization you might have to make a tough decision to close a business. Something you've given yourself to. So just think about that for a moment. The decision that you had to make, of the time and effort you've given, the sacrifice that you've made, going without, letting people know who you are and where you are so that you could get support to pay payroll. You may have not taken a salary or paid yourself because of this dream you've pursued, because you saw something in the marketplace that you believed would help your neighborhood. This passion that you have of studying, traveling the world, that you might have to close the doors. And this dream that you've dreamed that have kept you up all night long. You've lost sleep. You've lost time with your family. Risk being misunderstood. Feeling lonely and isolated. And then at times you feel this rejuvenation of the smiling faces that come through your doors, or the DMs and shares on social media that they love what you're doing, and to keep going, the pats on the back. Maybe you've received some trophies and some acknowledgments, but then have to come back to the reality that you might have to consider laying it down, and you may not ever be able to pick it back up again. But because you're so committed to it, you've told yourself, I'm not going to quit. Can you see the picture that I'm painting in your head? That's what our small businesses at times have to experience. I've been there since 2020. I was there last year. I've had those thoughts this year. You wonder if you're doing the right thing. Well, let me give that person some encouragement. Whether you are an entrepreneur, maybe you are a career professional, maybe you're retired, maybe you're doing something, you're pursuing something greater, and it might not be going as planned. I'll tell you what I do. I wake up early, and I spend a lot of time by myself and getting anger and frustration and disappointments out. And I just get to a place that I can get quiet. And I tell myself, if I'm clear about the outcome of what I want to achieve, are the activities that I'm doing aligning with the end result that I want? For me personally, if it is to increase awareness of Black-owned restaurants and small businesses and create campaigns, one, and secondly, to create campaigns to drive direct spending to those businesses, am I doing that? Are the decisions that I'm making aligning with the outcome? Are the decisions that I'm making as the executive director of the Bigger Food Foundation aligning with inspiring the built-in community through economic development and cultural enterprise to benefit that community in that neighborhood? Am I doing that? If I'm doing that, because I'm focused on the goal, the outcome, I can keep going. But if the decisions that I'm making are not in alignment with my goal, I got to take a moment to stop, reevaluate, get in alignment, and go forward. I learned this some years ago during my membership intake process to my dear fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Spring 98. And we delight in forward steps. During that time, I didn't really get it. But then I started to think, how can I delight in forward steps? I don't know what direction to go in or what to do next. So the principle is, it's okay to take a moment to stop and reflect. Are my actions, my behaviors in alignment with the direction I'm going in? If they are, keep going. If they're not, pause. It's okay to make a lateral step. But if you're going in the direction of something that you love to do, that makes your heart feel good, you have to take a moment to realign your behaviors with the actions with behaviors and actions that get to the outcome. So then, yes, that's the individual. That's the person that is an entrepreneur, that has a business, or maybe you're a corporatepreneur. That's a word. You have a full-time job, but you also have a business on the side. Not a hobby. Maybe it is a hobby or an interest on the side outside of your corporate work. Same thing. But then what do we do as a community? I've been trying to break down what community looks like in, I guess, like syllables, I guess. So when I think of community, I think about commonality. I think of communication. I think of course, unity. So if I am communicating with people that I have a common interest with, I feel in community. Can I be honest with you for a second? Doing something daring can at times feel like you are by yourself. You're alone, feel isolated. Yep. Isolation and loneliness is a part of life. But what you can tell yourself is, I need to stay in a community, because in a community you don't feel loneliness, because you have inspiration and someone else to lean on. You see other people doing things that inspire you. You can stay in the community and say, I need this, and it's available to you. Because what you are also doing is you're contributing to the community by sharing what you know, what you love, to help somebody else. That's what I loved about living in a small town, is when I got older, growing up, I didn't realize what we didn't have. When I got older, I realized how much I did have. And I miss those times of shared values, and you go knock on your neighbor's door. I used to be really embarrassed when my grandma would be like, oh, ask so-and-so for butter or sugar or whatever. And now neighbors don't talk. So as people who are not entrepreneurs or business owners, how do you contribute to the fabric of community? Just care. Just care about the person next to you, your neighbor. Your neighbor also includes the person across the street, in the cubicle. Maybe it's even a stranger. We all live in a community, global community. And if we just cared, politics aside, religion aside, the human being, we just cared. Because the things that create distance between us is fear. Fear and anxiety. These things that we have in our head that are from biases and experiences, we all have them, that prevent you from wanting to connect with the person, because you may have had a bad experience from a person who looked a certain way, spoke to you a certain way. When we really reflect on, why am I behaving in a way that is fearful, it keeps me from connecting to people. What does that have to do with business? Businesses are important to neighborhoods and communities. I was talking to one of my best friends, and we started talking about growing up in Duncan. And I started asking questions like, but where are the businesses that were around us and where we lived? There weren't many businesses. But we were fortunate to be able to, you can walk to the store. I could walk to 7-Eleven. We could walk to the laundromat. I could ride my bike. But now, if you want to do something, buy something, it requires you to have a vehicle. There's no Uber. I don't think it is. There's no Uber or Lyft in Duncan. Population's too small. So people are disconnected. They know more about you through social media than they do from knocking on your door. My youngest nephew, he loves being around my grandma, around his grandma, my mom, because he can go outside when he wants to. And you feel safe knowing he can ride his bike down the street or around the block, because there's a sense of community. And this is where community counts. When you have a business and it's not doing well, you still feel connected in the community. Because in community, that's where you find your resources. And now I want to be honest about what we are missing in our community. Hold on for a second, because what I'm going to say might offend some. But my intention is not to offend, it is to get us to look at some things with a different perspective. See, when I take these glasses off, I can see the camera. See how I can see the camera. I can see the laptop. But I can't see it clear enough. But when I put my glasses on, I have some assistance and I can see things clearer. We need to put some different set of glasses on and update our prescriptions. We have confused communities with neighborhoods. Our conversation is community. Our actions are neighborhood. I don't live on a particular side. I don't live in Northeast Oklahoma City. I don't live on the east side. I never have. I don't live on the south side. I don't live in a neighborhood that is predominantly black. But I am a part of the black community, obviously, from the work that I do. We have to create space for different perspectives and people to be in community because we need each other. There's too much time focusing on why you don't like a person. So you focusing on problems where somebody else is focusing on solutions. And if you become a spokesperson or a figurehead, you inherit the responsibility to make decisions and lead in a way that pushes progress forward. If you're contributing to, like they say now, toxic behavior or degradation or maliciousness, deception, you are not operating with integrity for the benefit of a community. You're not. We must create space for people with perspectives that can help us grow. And I think it's funny that you'll see some of the same people who have a reputation or an image for being toxic or a leader or whatever the case may be in our space. Now I'm talking about this out loud because I am. I have this platform because, black radio ain't gonna give it to me, so I create my own platform. That we know how to act when we're around foreign company. We know how to decorum and withhold our mouth and our words to come across, to not come across as belligerent when we're in white spaces. But those rules go out the window when we're amongst ourselves. Because in community, we should be able to be ourselves. And the person that you perceive as disruptive or angry or whatever the case may be should be able to come in community and feel like, man, I came here and I had a chance to self-reflect and take accountability for my words and my actions, because in the community there's healing, there's love and care. And what I've recognized, this is not just a black issue or a brown issue, Hispanic issue, whatever. This is the culture that we often see in our city. Do you care? And if you cared for your neighbor, you treat them different. If you care about yourself, you treat yourself differently. You recognize that if you said something that was offensive to the person that you care about and love, then you fix it. But if you don't have respect for them, you won't. If you see someone that is needing help, you don't do it with malicious intent or at the hidden agenda. It's because you want to see them do well. Now, in business, it's difficult to give away things free because you have to create revenue and make money to do philanthropic things. So think about this from a corporate perspective. If I have a company that is historically known to be very philanthropic, donations, give away grants and sponsorship, when revenue goes down, guess where they have to pull back from? Continuing to give away. Because if they continue to give away when revenue goes down, they have to still make the tough decision. Do I continue being philanthropic in a way that is hurting my business, or do I scale back in that way, reinvest into the company? Because I might have to make a decision one day that could have an impact on the people who work for me. See, leading can be complicated because you often have to think of things that those who don't lead are not responsible for. And you don't have to be a CEO or lead a department or a manager to be a leader, because we all have the ability to lead and influence? How are we taking responsibility for how we lead and influence? Another thought about being in community is that when it doesn't work out, do I still feel like I'm a part of community? Can I for a moment carry the guilt, the shame, the disappointment that I carry because something that I planned did not work out? And I can still show up as my authentic self in that space. Can I do that in community? And if I can't, I got to find another community. Or maybe you need to take time, take a pause to yourself, and understand what you have to change or modify about your mindset and your behavior. Because just because it didn't work that time, you learned a lesson. Now try it again. See, that's entrepreneurship. That's the character that you build when you're trying something that doesn't work. Because I can't tell you how many times I've failed at something. How many relationships that I have, when I look back, like it was my fault that relationship didn't work. That business didn't work. That idea didn't work. That was my fault. That was me. I wasn't mature enough. I didn't have the words, the ability, the way to maintain a business or personal relationship, even family relationship. But as you learn from continuing to try, you gain the wisdom to do some things different. And you also will learn what things you need to put down and let go. Because you deserve to be in a space and an atmosphere that values you. Entrepreneurship teaches those lessons. And that's what's beautiful about it. So if you have a business, and you are needing help, ask the question. Be clear about the question that you're asking. Be clear about the help that you need. And if you're not clear, now I'll give you this point. When I'm not sure what I need in business or in life with people that I'm comfortable sharing, I'll just express what I'm feeling and or experiencing, because my feelings might be different from what I'm experiencing. So, as an example, I'm feeling insecure or anxious or angry or upset or mad. But what I'm experiencing is a time in my business where I'm not generating enough revenue, which is influencing my feelings. You see how that sounded different? I'm going to say it again in this way. If I share what I'm experiencing in my life and moment right now, that leads to the feelings that I have. And even doing that in reverse. If I'm feeling impatient, I might have some anxiety about a particular thing that may not work out. So I'm with people that, whether I know they can help me or not, I can express, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. Most of the things that I have, I would say most, I'm going to say just all the things of the blessings, the opportunities that I've been given is because I value relationships. And I found people that I can say, hey, this is what I need help in. No one can read my mind. And people would assume that, man, you have all this success that you got it taken, that you got it. And I don't. I've just found great people to help me. Because I've had to dig in the courage to say, this is what I need. And I want you to do that too for yourself. You deserve to live the best life, a fulfilled life. You deserve that. And how you do that is getting time to yourself to understand, what am I experiencing right now? And what do I need help or support with to move past this place? And real quickly, and this is how you do that, you have to start with yourself. If you don't like what you're experiencing in your business or your life, you have to first start with yourself. What do you need to realign with in your goals and your values to get on track, and what you have to adjust or change or stop doing to get a better outcome. Start there. Because when you start there, you start working toward the activities that lead to the outcome that you desire. So when you show up with people that might be able to help you or refer you to a resource, you can tell them, this is what I had a challenge with. This is what I've tried, but I'm also missing something. They can better direct you and fill in the gap. Last example. Let me close this thing out. I'm helping one of our historical black towns with their economic development plan. So I asked the question from people that I knew that are in the economic development world that I trust. They referred me to people, and they referred me to someone that was like, hey, well, this company does this. Reach out to them. So they made the email connection. I did not recognize the name at all. I promise you I didn't. So I made the email introduction, and I just responded as if I didn't know that person, because I didn't remember the name at all. And then she responded back, it's good to hear from you. And I was like, what? Had to Google her. I was like, oh my God, like I remember her from years ago. I thought she was gone. And then we sat down and had a conversation. And she showed me, here's what we can do for this town that you're working with, and help them with a full out, locked and loaded economic development plan for this town that desperately needs it. Only way that would have ever happened if I just told one person what I needed and they led me to the resource that can actually help me, but not knowing the person that led me to was the one that I had established a relationship years ago. We have to nurture relationships to be in a community, whether it's business and your neighbor, family member or friend. Good relationships just don't happen. They happen because people nurture them. And nurturing is not always cakes and roses and smelling good. Nurturing is you're going to have to do some hard work to get what you want out of that. Because when you do the hard thing well, you learn something great about yourself, that you do have the ability to do hard things well. Because somebody's watching you, and you can be the example that they need for their lives. Just be intentional, y'all. Our businesses need your help. Now, business owners, there's work that you need to do as well. We cannot put it on our consumers and customers to bail us out. You must do the development work as a owner and a leader to make sure your business provides the service and products that customers deserve, and they want to come to you to support you financially. So you have some work to do as well. The buck starts with you and stops with you. That's the responsibility that we have. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Bigger Than Food podcast. I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bigger Than Food, and follow us on all podcast platforms, and download and follow us as we continue to load the audio versions of all these episodes. We're on our pathway to the 50th episode, and soon I'll have an exciting announcement on how we will have that 50th episode. It'll be exciting. But thank you for your support. And remember, our mission is bigger than food, and be intentional with how you support a local business today.